Hi everyone, welcome to this video. I would like to make an update about the COVID-19 virus for April 5, 2020. And today I would like to take a look at the data in Spain. So I added the case of Spain into my model. I've run a bunch of simulations until they matched the mortality data that have been observed, that have been reported coming from Spain. And so let's take a look at what happens when we run that model. So if you want to get more information about the model, please take a look at my first video. I'll provide a link in the description. The main thing to know is this is the unaffected population. This is a log scale as a function of time and days. Unaffected population clearly is very flat, so the number of people that are being infected is relatively small compared to the entire population. We see this is the number of ill people, this is the number of people who need hospitalization, and this is the number of deaths resulting from this. We can see clearly there is, after a peak, there is a decline in the number of ill people. So clearly, if we extrapolate from the way Spain is currently doing, it looks like Spain is getting the disease under control, and the number of deaths is going to be somewhere in the 10,000s. Looking at the scale over here. So I just wanted to give you a quick look of what it's like to run this model. Now I'm going to go to Excel and take a closer look at the results from this model. So currently, as of April 4, the end of the day, there were 11,947 deaths in Spain from the coronavirus. If I run the model, and you can see here how well the model fits the data. The data points completely cover the simulated curve, and it extrapolates to about 46,000 deaths by next year. Now, there is a lot of uncertainty on this number, a lot more uncertainty than in the case of Italy, which I presented yesterday, and that's because Spain is essentially a week behind Italy. They've just been evolving more rapidly, so they seem like they're at the same level, but Spain took measures against the coronavirus about 1 week later than Italy. Let me see, the date is March 14, when a state of alarm was declared across Spain. There were some measures happening before that date, but the real big measure was on March 14. So, and because of the shorter time span since the state of alarm was called compared to Italy, we have less certainty, and I would say the uncertainty is from about 26,000 to about 134,000 mortality in Spain. Now my model estimates that so far, about 100,000 people have been saved by the measures that have been taken. And as I said yesterday, that's probably an overestimate. And there's a similar overestimate with Italy. The data coming from the modeling at Imperial College give us a much smaller number. And as I said yesterday, I would rather believe that model than my own. Their model is a real predictive model. This is more a model to describe what's happening and then projecting it into the future rather than making a real prediction. But what I'm seeing by fitting the model to the data is that the R0 in Spain before the non-pharmaceutical intervention started was about 4.8, which is the highest number I've seen so far in any location. And my estimate right now is that after intervention this has gone down to about 0.72, so it's well below 1. Mind you, there is a very large uncertainty on that. That would be an effectiveness of 85%, but that could be anywhere from, I'd say, from 75% to 90%. And the numbers are can be very different based on what you're assuming. So far, 126,000 cases have been reported, as I will show in a minute. I'm assuming for Spain, it looks like about 1 in 11 actual cases are being reported. When we look at when we let the model predict the actual number of people who have the virus right now, as of April 5, April 4, April 5. That is slightly over 2 million. And in total, we're expecting that by the time the disease is finally conquered, about 3 million people will have contracted the disease. So let's take a look here. We can see the number of estimated cases, assuming that 1 in 11 cases have been reported. This would only account for the sick people, not the people who are not yet showing any symptoms, or the people who have only started showing symptoms recently, so they haven't actually gone for a test yet. The number of active cases is shown here. It looks like the data is kind of running ahead of the model. I haven't seen that with other countries, so maybe Spain is declaring people recovered a little sooner than other countries are doing, and that might have been why the data is a little ahead of the simulation. Now, if other countries are any guide, we can expect that the actual data is going to be higher than the simulation. So I'm expecting at the peak there will be well over 1 million people who are sick. The number of people who need hospitalization is on the order of 80 to 90,000 at the peak, and that peak will come in the next couple of weeks. So that is a little bit more than what's the case in Italy. And remember, Spain is a country with a smaller population, about 46 million, as compared to 60 million in Italy. So we can really say that Spain is harder hit, and they're getting an accelerated version of what they're seeing in Italy. So it's definitely very upsetting that this is ravaging the country so badly. But the good news, at least, is that it seems for now very preliminarily that the disease is being conquered. Now, I will run these simulations again in a couple of days when we have more data available to compare with, and then we will have a better idea if Spain is really rounding the corner. But for the time being, I would say yes, it looks like Spain is rounding the corner, and in a couple of months we should really see great results coming out of there. Here is a projection of the total number of cases, so both people having symptoms and people not having symptoms, and it looks like for now, right now, early April, we're at about 2 million, and that will evolve to about 3 million over the next year. So again, we can take the data from Spain out of the global data and then take a look how the rest of the world is doing. So yesterday when I did that by taking the Italian data out of the world data, then the result was not very good for the rest of the world. And of course, by taking the Spanish data, which is another success story, seemingly at least, things only are getting worse. So I don't want to spend a lot of time going over these numbers at this point. These are really projections about what we might be doing and what we might not be doing. If, in the very most optimistic case, we have already been doing adequately, making measures comparable to Spain and Italy, and we've been taking them a week to a couple of weeks ago, the number could be as low as 300,000 worldwide. Add to that the about 50,000 for Italy and about 50,000 for Spain, then we're arriving at about 400,000. So that's generally consistent with the numbers that I've been giving you for the lower limit. If we do kind of a half-hearted attempt to do something but not really adequate, we're probably looking at a number that is in the 10 millions. And today my number arrived at 42 million. Yesterday was 20 million. But really, very small changes can make the difference between 20 million people dying and 40 million people dying. It's important to be aware of that. It takes a relatively small change to go from 20 million to 40 million or vice versa. So it's important that these measures are taken. Relatively small interventions can save tens of millions of people worldwide. If we do practically nothing, it's going to be a real disaster. And we're looking at 70 million people then dying. So it could be up to 3 billion people that get the disease, that get the virus. And even that might actually be too optimistic. So once again, very important that we take sufficient action to defeat this disease. It looks like Spain is defeating the disease. This is a very tentative conclusion. I will come back to this in a week or so to confirm that, or to change the conclusion if necessary. Definitely Spain is not out of the danger zone yet. They will have to continue making serious efforts to minimize social contact to make sure that they are on the right track. Tomorrow I will look at another country, and I look forward to seeing you then. I hope that you found the information useful. If you did, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully I can see you tomorrow.